Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining to our Sunday webinar session. So today we are in the 36th edition of this webinar, and we have a very interesting topic today to cover as a fireside chat conversation. The topic is AI-powered SAFe, transforming roles from intent to impact. Now, AI has been there in the space for quite some time now. So we should not consider anymore that as a disruption. It is now a new normal. Now, no one can deny that AI is becoming their regular habit. It's getting into their DNA. Now it is touching every area, every processes, every domain. So agile is not an exception either. So as AI is entering into agile ecosystem, it is not just enhancing the processes, the way we define the role, the way we set the expectation, the way the different roles are performing their different responsibilities, how are they taking some decision making, how are they taking some decisions, how it is shifting focus from activities to the outcome, how are we doing the planning, everywhere AI is making their mark. Now, SAFe came with a purpose. We all know that. Now, the main purpose was to take the agility from the team level to the next level, to the enterprise level, so that we can have an organizational agility. So it was kind of making it free, right, from the team level binding to the program level, account level, portfolio, project level, portfolio level, etc. Now, many enterprises today have successfully adopted the SAFe framework. Not only SAFe framework, for that matter, any scaling framework. Now we are talking about SAFe today. Now the ceremonies are in place, the roles are defined or redefined, the teams are aligned, but yet a critical question remains. Are we truly achieving the intended impact? Now we know that when SAFe comes into picture, it is bringing a lot of additional roles, a lot of additional processes, a lot of additional events, right? So the question remains what we are trying to explore, that bridging the gap between SAFe intent and the real enterprise outcome. The AI-driven decision making for product and portfolio leadership. The emergence of AI-powered release and engineer, mind it, AI-powered. So what additional things a RT can do with or leveraging the AI? Reimagining PI planning with predictive insight. Now, we all know that the huge amount of preparation that goes before we go for the PI planning, maybe roadmap creation, prioritization, and many other things. So how AI can make an impact? Now, there are some defined metrics that we also know, predictability, right, velocity, etc., etc. Now, reimagining, right, first of all, reimagining PI planning with the predictive insight and also moving from velocity metrics to the outcome-driven delivery. That is something also we need to explore. Now, there had been different type of coaches that we also know in SAFe, right? The Scrum Master is the team coach, RTE is the art level coach, and then we have another servant leadership role at the solution train level. We call it as a solution train engineer. So, and whenever we are touching upon the coaching part, how are we balancing the human judgment with the AI-driven intelligence? And last of all, the future of SAFe roles in the AI-first world. Now, today we have two very interesting person, right, who are going to help us in exploring those areas. So first, I would like to introduce our esteemed speaker for the session, Ms. Shatarupa Nandi. She's a transformational SAFe Agile coach, RTE, and trainer in Xerox. So she's a seasoned enterprise Agile transformation leader and SAFe ASPC. Shatarupa brings a strong track record in driving large-scale delivery and organizational alignment. Her expertise spans strategic program leadership, stakeholder governance, and value-driven execution across complex technology landscapes. She is known for combining pragmatic leadership with disciplined agile practices to deliver sustainable outcome. And to steer the conversation, today we have got our very own moderator, Shubhra Haldar. She's an agile transformation lead and RTE in Xerox. With over 2 decades of experience, Shubhra works at the intersection of people, technology, and purpose, enabling human-centric leadership, alignment, and sustainable transformation. She is known for bringing clarity and a strong human lens to agile AI and organizational changes. So we are wishing for some real great, insightful conversation today. With this, I'll pass it to Shubhra to take this discussion forward. Over to you, Shubhra.
Thank you, Shubham. Thank you for that overwhelming introduction. And I'm really glad to see so many faces, some of the new ones as well. And this discussion was long pending, so I'm really glad to be a part of this and moderate this with our esteemed speaker, Shatrupa. So, without wasting any time, let's move. So, as Shubha already mentioned, that over the last decade, SAFE has already helped enterprises bring alignment, cadence, and governance to large-scale agile delivery. Today, many organizations have implemented SAFE, but then fewer have realized its intended outcomes, which were supposed to be like faster flow, better economic decisions, and meaningful customer value. Now, AI enters this space, not as a tool, but as a capability that can fundamentally change how decisions are made, risks are surfaced, and value flows across the art and portfolio. So, in today's conversation, we will explore how AI can move SAFE from compliance to competitiveness. So, most enterprises, as I said, are already having SAFE ceremonies, roles, and artifacts in place. Yet, many still ask, where does the flow, or rather, why does the flow remain slow? Why do dependencies surface too late? Why does predictability not improve despite doing SAFE? So, with that, Shatrupa, my first question to you will be, where does the intent of SAFE break down in day-to-day execution, and how might AI help bridge that gap between the structure and the outcomes?
Okay. I hope I'm kind of audible to everyone.
Yeah.
Good morning before I start, and thanks for having me here, and thanks for all the kind words by Shubha and Shubhra. And of course, spending 1 hour on a Sunday morning is not easy. So I hope we'll be able to add some value there. So with that, coming to your question, Shubhra, you said that you're absolutely right that we have enterprises who have implemented SAFE ceremonies, role, and all these kind of things. I would say that the biggest gap is not the adoption of SAFE. It is the intent that we keep missing, right? Adoption, enterprise said that if we just implement some of the SAFE roles and create roles and do some ceremonies mechanically, we'll be able to absolutely winning the SAFE. No, it's not going to happen. The original intent of SAFE is evidence-based decision making, validating value delivery, which often gets lost. If you go to the ceremonies, we focuses on maybe the status and not the predictive analysis. We kind of go and do the backlog prioritization, but the cost of delay which is a very critical component of backlog prioritization, is often guessed. We go and log the risk, but we do not predict the risk. As I said, flow metrics, we give the flow metrics, but not really act upon it, right? And leaders ask that why we are busy. Why we are busy, even if you're having SAFE, why we are busy. So these are the questions kind of which delimit, or I would say devalue, the actual intent of SAFE. And then, there comes the AI, which becomes a transformation, not as an automation, but with all the different dynamics that it can bring into the game. With that, I would like to ask if anybody has seen the movie Moneyball. Anyone? It was a great movie, by the way. I'll just give you the synopsis of it. So Brad Pitt was, I think this is a manager of that baseball team, and he was given a very, very tiny budget to create a baseball team and winning championships. And he had no idea, because if you go by the names, like for example in India context, if you say that we need, I have to create an IPL team, I don't have the budget, I need all the star players, but I don't have the budget. So what he did is he went and get some statistical data and tried do the decision based on those statistical data. It was way back. Moneyball was, I think, in the 90s. But that time also he got some statistical data and tried to implement his decision on the base of those statistical data. That was kind of a game changer. And it's not not a fictional movie. It's based on a real life story. That entirely changed the domain and the game of the baseball going forward. So if we say this Moneyball, it didn't change the game itself, right? The baseball was still the baseball. It's about the decision transformation. This is what exactly AI going to do for us, right? So AI could help us make the safe, instead of a structured static process, into the learning system. It can if the ceremony is producing static outputs, AI can continuously synthesizes all the signal across the teams, tools, value streams. It will replace opinion with evidence. Very, very important. It will be like giving us the power of data driven decisions. It will surface out the true constraints. And if you look at the safe dashboards now, even like in most of the even big enterprises, we always concentrate on what had happened. But AI should give us the power to give the analysis that what will happen and what would be the risk and what will be our best move right now. Right? So if I say in short, most organizations, we do not fail in safe because we lack ceremonies or we don't have roles. We fail because we think that we can still make the decision. We still have the luxury to make the decision like 1995. It doesn't work anymore. The market is changing constantly. So AI should be, safe that Moneyball moment, not changing the framework, not changing the teamwork, but changing how we decide. I think that's going to be a game changer going forward. That's how AI is going to help us.
Okay, that's a nice answer, I would say. So that naturally brings us to decision making. So often, what shows up as slow flow or lost value in actual rooted upstream is actually how prioritization decisions are made. So now let's zoom into the product management space. So beyond managing backlog, SAFE also expects economic thinking, right? So how do you think, how can AI help product managers beyond backlog prioritization to true economic decision making, which is aligned with lean portfolio management?
Absolutely. I think that, a very critical question right now, how AI can help the product management, the product owners. Traditionally, if you look at the SAFE organization now, as I was saying, that we prioritize the backlog. We scored the WSJIF. Like for the economic decision, we scored the WSJIF, but maybe quarterly or something. And most of the WSJIF scores are given manually, gut feeling, based on our gut feelings, doing some assumptions instead of data driven. We estimate the features, we estimate the stories, sequence them, but the value out of that feature is always abstract. We do not have enough data to back up those values, and decisions are still very static. As I was saying, it's opinion heavy, it's very local, maybe with the team or the art view, not at the portfolio level view. And that's why we are very good in answering that what should be the next thing that would go to the market, but we struggle to answer that what is the best economic move right now we can take, right? Instead of doing what would go next and prioritize that way, portfolio leaders should ask, what did we invest in the right thing? Did we invest in the right thing, and why we are missing the outcome? That kind of analysis should be done, right? And how it is possible, because sometimes it's humanly impossible to scale our opinions, scale our decisions at a very large level. Manual is not possible. So that's what AI can help us, right? So it can, very important part of it, like when we creating or scoring the WSJF is the cost of delay, right? So if you're doing a static WSJF collection and calculation quarterly without the dynamic cost of delay, it doesn't make sense. In today's world, it doesn't make sense. So instead of the frozen scores, AI can continuously update the COD based on the conditional changes. How the market condition is changing, it can update the COD and give it to us, right? And it can give you the prediction that if the feature is delayed today, how expensive it could be for us, right? That is, I think, number one, the cost of delay, which can be dynamically calculated. Number two, I would say it can help us giving some scenario-based decision making. Like I said, if we delay an epic by 1 PI, what will be the cost for us? If we pull feature B instead of feature A forward, how that will help? What portfolio risk will increase if we do not act now? So all these questions, AI can give us some predictions. AI can give us some good amount of judgment of all these questions, I would say. And then we talk about feature ROI instead of flow economics. This shift has to happen, right? Did we deliver the feature? No, that is not the question. Did this investment that we done on the feature, did it improve the outcome? That should be our question, right? So from product manager perspective, I would say AI does not make them faster backlog groomers or something, but it will help them to become the actually economic decision makers for the enterprise, which is very, very important. And that is what is needed for most of the enterprise to be sustainable in this market space. So that would be my answer. Constant change condition analysis, constantly updating the COD and making those economic decisions correct based on the data that we have.
Wonderful, wonderful. So now once the decisions are made, execution depends heavily on flow, coordination, and early risk visibility. And that's where the RT role becomes critical. So instead of reacting to risk during PI planning or maybe during execution, what if we could anticipate them earlier? And on this context, I would love to hear your thoughts on what an AI-powered RT could look like in practice.
Okay, that's an interesting question as well, and very close to my heart. Being an RT, I know that in our enterprises and most of the enterprises, what RT does is we kind of become a dashboard watcher, right? And we try and take some decision based on the current situation, and we try and help teams and coach them based on some manual interpretations, right? But let me clear this out, that going forward, if we really want to become an AI-powered RT, we need to be a system thinker. We need to use AI as our co-conductors, right? Across, if you look at even some of the spaces now that large enterprises like banking and telecom, some of the regulated ITs, they are using AI heavily for those deep research. Now, one good thing is that they have enough data points there, which maybe some of us are missing. So AI can do those deep research on the analyzing of the historical PI data. They can correlate those velocity variance and then dependencies from the past record, the backlog, aging of the backlog, and etc. And it can actually predict how the flow will break and when the flow will break before team or even RT can feel it, because we are doing it based on the manual judgments, but AI can predict it based on the past data. They can scale up their data analysis based on those, not only for our art but on the overall. If you have multiple arts, they can take up the data from multiple arts and do this kind of analysis and synthesize this data and can give us those predictions. So if you just Shubhra has correctly mentioned that risk detection is one thing that we should be doing very good with the help of AI, right? As of now, as traditional RTs, we are risks are getting identified in the PI planning, and that too based on the conversations. Like we kind of tell the teams that, okay, you think this feature, if you have a dependency with the other team, you think this is not going to, you are not going to get the delivery from the other team in sprint 2, what will happen? What will be the risk? This kind of conversation happens in the team breakouts, and then based on that, we go and jot down those risks. But instead of that, AI, as I said, based on the past PIs, it can detect pattern based on the carryovers, the recurring carryovers. If you have chronic overcommitment, if there have been mismatches between plan and actual values, and flag those probability of failures, and not just the presence of risk. It will give you the probability of the failure, and this is exactly how predictive risk models are working in some of the enterprises. Very limited, but some of the enterprises are using that, right? Second thing definitely is dependency bottlenecks. We kind of go to the traditional dependency board, rely on teams to declare the dependencies, etc. But AI can give us this dependency mapping. It can actually go scan epics, features, stories of different teams, and build on based on those data. It can actually create the dependency graphs, which is very interesting. I would love to see those, and identify teams where multiple teams coverage on the same constraint. If that happens, it will give you the signals, right? It will also help us to understand the flow disruption. AI should empower us with flow intelligence. It can predict that there could be a WIP overload going forward, if there will be a starvation zones, if we have a downstream blockages, and it will help us highlight where the flow will slow next. Very important. Manually, it's not possible to always think through those, but AI can really help us, that really empower us with all this kind of context, and again, and I love seeing movies. So if any of you have seen Iron Man, Tony Stark, so you remember the suit that Iron Man had? The name of the suit was, I think, Jervis. So it was giving him all the signals of danger in prior to it happening, and that kind of made him completely unstoppable. So if we can make AI our Jervis, all the RTs, I think we can change the game altogether. Yeah. And we can be one of the best release engineers, train engineers going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I can realize that putting my RT hat, that if we are doing this risk analysis and then specifically dependencies, I would say. I mean, inter-team dependencies is one thing, and then inter-art dependency is something else. So AI can really be a powerful tool helping us with that. So, yeah. So now I think we have mentioned multiple times about PI planning, right? So let's go there directly. So PI planning is one of the most human moments in SAFe. Alignment, negotiation, commitment, everything happening, everything converging there. So if AI enters this space, where does it genuinely help? And where should humans stay firmly in control? What would an AI-assisted PI planning actually look like?
Right. So I would say we all know, right? People who are working in SAFe, that pipe is the heartbeat of any SAFe. You're saying that if you're not doing pipe, you're not doing SAFe. As simple as that, right? So if we say that AI-driven PI planning or AI-assisted, I would say that all the mechanical work, we can give it to AI. We talked about historical data analysis, carryovers, the predictability, the spillovers, giving us those risk data, predictive risking, and then give us some where the flow will disrupt it. Those kind of all these kind of predictive data can be given by the AI. Risk patterns, system flow issues, everything can be given by AI, right? Dependency discovery, dependency mapping, as you mentioned, not only within the art dependency across teams, but across different art as well. So by scanning the feature stories, we talked about it. Apart from that, I think because you can flag risk those for those dependency clusters, this ensures that nothing critical is invisible going into the planning. So it can help us actually to be better prepared for the PI planning with all these data with us, right? And not only that, I think one very important thing and one interesting thing that can help AI can help us with is the velocity trend. It can factor the velocity trend and give us some simulated results, like what if this happens, and the consequences of the overcommitment. Because many times we go see that, team go for overcommitment or undercommitment. That's kind of typical symptoms that happen during the PI planning. So it can give you those data, those signals, those warnings that if you go for overcommitment, this could be the result. Now, these are the things AI can help us with. Better be completely prepared for the PI planning. I would say reduce the breakout timings. Give us the data-driven data that based on which we can plan and go better. All these things. But the interesting part would be what must remain deeply human, and this is completely non-negotiable according to me. Things that should remain human is first thing you already mentioned is the commitment. AI can give you the suggestion, but team should go and say, okay, I'm committing to this plan. I'm comfortable with this plan. Yes, we commit to this. AI cannot go and do the commitment on your behalf. No way. Right? Second is the trade-off negotiations. When we have multiple priorities colliding, feature A versus feature B, and etc. If you have conflict between speed and quality, and if we are short-term, long-term gains, system health, all these kind of things, then we need to do a lot of trade-offs. That has to be done by the teams, the product owners, the product managers in conversation. AI should not, and we should not give, I emphasize on this, we should not give AI the power to be the decision maker. It is only going to be our co-pilot, cannot be the pilot of the plane, right? And the trust and the alignment, that is the true essence, the basic flavor of any PI and SAFe. Building trust between teams, create psychological safety. So these things will always remain human and has to remain human. So you have to remember that PI planning is a kind of a social contract. It's not a mechanical exercise that you go and do and an AI will do it for you. No. Right? We have to understand what would the best sense it will make under uncertainty, how the market is shifting, and if you have any surprises there. It is not AI not going to replace the PI planning. It will I would say it will restore it. It will remove the noise, the guesswork, so people can concentrate on focusing on the alignment, commitment, learning, and all this kind of things. So when PI planning stops being a coordination ritual and become a true enterprise decision-making event, that's how it's going to change, I think, with the help of AI.
Yeah, and I agree to your point. So AI can suggest with the trade-offs, with the action commitment, but then it's the team, it's the POs who actually do the commitment because they are more aware of the situation, what is there right now. I mean, which one the customers are waiting for. So that knowledge is totally based in the human minds, in the teams, in the POs, in the stakeholder people who are there. So absolutely, that should remain. I agree to your point. And with that, so now we have seen AI supporting PI planning and execution with deeper insights. So if AI starts supporting PI planning, the implications go beyond roles and ceremonies. They affect leadership itself, right? So when flow, predictability, and value signals are increasingly surfaced by AI, how do lean agile leaders need to evolve? What changes in how leadership show up? What do you think?
Okay, when I remember still in 2021, 22 timeframe when we actually rolled out SAFe in our organization, the first fear factor came across is like, oh my God, then the leaders will go, away, right? They don't have any role. Everything will be done by SAFe. It's not the case. It's never be the case because they will be your enabler always. Similarly, with the help of AI, they can be enabling the teams more, I would say. As of now, what leaders are doing, they are relying on too much on the status reports. They are making decision with kind of a fragmented or partial data. They are reviewing the outcomes after the fact, not predicting it. So with the power of AI, leaders will change how the value will be delivered, right? It will help them to understand that it's not the opinion that's going to matter. It is the evidence led decision that's going to matter, right? With AI providing pattern recognition and how it will help the lean agile leaders to how to interpret those data, challenges, and context, right? All these from opinion led to evidence led decisions. That's very important. That's going to happen. That started happening. That's going to happen more and more in the future, I believe. Then again, not depends on the output. Don't look at the output always. Look at the outcome. So that mindset shift has to happen. The growth mindset not only stick to the being the enabler, but outcome versus output. That discussion, that kind of mindset change has to happen. I mean, the leaders should not ask that if the teams are busy. They should actually ask, are we producing the outcomes? Are we delivering the value which matters to the customer? That should be the question always they keep asking, instead of asking that, how much busier teams, what is the velocity, and etc. etc. Again, leaders should not be, using their energy in controlling the work. Instead of that, they should go for, if any redesigning of the entire system is required. Leaders are responsible for changing the system of work and not micromanaging the teams. Because it will help, AI will help us to understand that if the policy or structure or the organization, the way organization decision flows, if it is slowing the outcome, if that is happening, we should be taking that decision to make the outcome much more faster, because faster market revolution is very important in today's world, right? And we have to constantly change, otherwise we'll become a coder company. When we had all the weapons, but we could not do anything, so we completely washed off from the market scenario. That should not happen. That situation should not happen. Another interesting read that just had a few days back, I was reading an article that how this total leadership, how this total picture, that this sphere will completely change with the help of AI. So there they mentioned that the leaders will have to be interpreters. It should be able to translate the AI signals into strategic intent. It would make those strategic decisions accordingly based on the AI signals. It should also be the challenger. Question AIs if it optimizes the wrong thing. It's not that AI will always give you the most right data. It's not possible. This is a human centricity, and AI will always make the decision based on the data that is available. May not be always correct. So lean agile leadership should challenge some of those decisions as well. And it should always become the steward. That is, it should help the lean agile leadership to protect value, the culture, and the long-term purpose. We should not forget about all these things, right? So I think the major shift is going to happen in the mind, and how we are working, and how we are kind of looking at the lens that we are looking at. We have to change that lens, and that's it. And that will be again I'm saying, it could be a game changer for any of the enterprise.
Absolutely. And I think what I have seen also, it is just the lack of clarity that brings in a lot of fear among the leaders. So leadership is not going away anywhere, and they are really a very important part of this whole process and this structure. And it is really important for them to be, as you said, as an interpreter and bring in those challenges, because ultimately what matters is the outcome, the value ultimately we are delivering, right? And with those challenges and all, I think we are going to succeed on the whole. So, and that is the intent. So now let's move to the next one. So leadership evolution, or rather evolution, also means rethinking, right? I mean, what we measure, as you said, what we're measuring and what we are rewarding as well. So most teams today track velocity, burn downs, predictability, but those don't always tell us if actual value is being delivered. So how can AI help shift the focus from activity-based metrics to outcome-based measurement that truly reflects the customer and the business impact? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. If you ask me, we calculate velocity, we show the burn down, we show the predictability because it's easy to get those matrices. Now, all these data, whatever tools we are using, it could be ADO, it could be System Now, Jira, Rally, everybody will give those matrices to us. So it's very easy. So that's why we kind of uh, use those matrices. But the fallacy of those matrices are they tell us how we are moving, but they are not going to tell us how, if you are going to win this, if you are going to make the value delivery possible. It will always show us how much work has been moved, and if how fast the team stayed busy, if the plan is followed closely or not, if there's a deviation from the plan. So all these activities are measured, not the impact. And we have seen the again situations. I think some of you have experienced it also, that everything is green on the dashboard, but the customers see no difference. I give you a real life example if I have time. How much time? Okay, so maybe I'll take 1 minute. So I was working in an R&D team, and we were given a situation that and this was a very crucial team for the device management. We were given a situation: the security feature has to be delivered, and it will be used by a very prominent customer. They have asked for it. HP is going to bargain. We are going to bargain as well, right? And we were told that you have to give it in 2 to 3 months, and then we will be able to sell it to the market. And trust me, we did everything possible. We did everything possible to make that delivery to the customers by 3 months. Everything was green and complain. We kind of celebrated it. We went for a party. Oh my God, what we have done. So for the next 1 month, we were not getting enough data back or enough feedback from the customers and from the product management. So the next meeting that we had for the iteration review, I asked the product management, what happened? We have worked so hard. We are giving that value delivery to the customer. What happened? I mean, what is the feedback? How they are using it? They said, okay, they never took it because they did not feel the difference. They could not see the outcome. They could not see the value. And I was like, what? So much of pain all in vain. But that actually happened. I think that happens all the time because we miss to see that outcome. We miss to see what we're going to gain out of it. And how AI can help us breaking those matrices? It will help us connect the work to the outcomes. Traditional tools that will give us the data, like story finished. AI will go and should go further. Correlating those features shift with the actual customer behavior. Identify if you have wastages and handoffs in the system. Work that consume capacity but delivered no outcome. If that is happening, it will be able to detect us, can give us the data, and then system level measurement. That is not human scale. Well, that's not possibly human mind cannot go that far and give those system level measurement. But AI can help us, right? Today we're tracking the velocity. Instead of that, it should give us a flow of value. Not only the velocity itself of the team, but flow velocity, the flow efficiency. Are we, working, stalling the upstream? Are value delivery accelerating or not? If the time to market is shifting or not. That is, we have charts like flow time. So all these things should be able to get through this AI data. And if you are investing correctly across features, and we are detecting the risks and all those kind of things, which will help us to understand the flow distribution as well. So flow should be our pivot instead of velocity. If the flow is fine, if you are giving the right solution at the right time, if you are doing the design thinking, what are the wastages, where are the handoffs, all these things can be given by the AI. And also, I would say that AI can identify that features with high delivery value but low business impact. Sometimes we do a lot of guesswork, and sometimes the decisions are based on some of our bias. It will help us get out of that bias and give the real life example that which features actually matter most. And it will help us reduce the rework, right? and predictive signals that an initiative will not produce outcomes even if you deliver value on time. That predictive signals will be very important and very crucial for any team, any art. The predictive output measurement, it's going to be very critical for us if we really want to make the economic decisions properly. And it will also help us telling that which investment is likely to generate the value next. If we have to shift the gear, we have to shift the investments at the product management, the portfolio level, and that will also, and AI will also tell us about where will the outcome stall before the delivery fails, right? If there's a prediction of slowing the flow, there's a prediction of stagnancy, there's a prediction of outcome. Again, I will come to the same thing, outcome versus output. It will help us overall to make better economic decisions and matrices which will matter instead of just showing that we agree. I think that's my take on this.
Right, wonderful. So now till now we talked a lot of AI possibilities that we can gain. So it is equally important to talk about responsibility now. Every powerful capability introduces new risks. So where do you see the dangers of over-relying on AI in agile governance? And how should organizations consciously draw that line so AI remains as an advisor and not an authority?
Again, if I talk about this, I would take an analogy of a film. You remember Jurassic Park? Everybody has seen Jurassic Park. I think all of us seen it. It was an amazing movie, right? So in Jurassic Park, what had happened? Everything was automated. The total systems were automated. Everything was shown green, and the predictive analysis shows that okay, we are going to burst out in the system, and everybody is going to be amazed. And experts say that everything is under control. They were completely and heavily dependent on the machine instead of human centricity, right? So if that happens, Jurassic Park was not a failure because of the technology driven. The failure was overconfidence and lack of human control. I think if we go for similar thing for with the AI, over reliance on AI, we might introduce a lot of risk within the system. So if you talk about the corporate reality, so enterprise, if you look at the market and see some of the articles, enterprise research shows that over reliance on AI happens when human accept AI output without challenge, when AI becomes the decision maker and not the enabler. That is going to kind of very risky, very, very risky, right? It could just jeopardize any of the system. And I was just again reading some articles where I've seen that some of the companies which had this AI governance, very heavily dependency on the AI, had faced some situations. Like, I don't know if you've heard about Deloitte Australia had to refund the government contract because they could not, do the human validation. They have in the AI generated content, they have included, I think, some fabricated citation or something like that. So they had to refund the government. So that had actually happened. Air Canada, was legally accountable because the AI chatbot they were using given an incorrect policy guidance. So can you imagine all these situations? We never validated those. We thought that AI is a superpower. AI is an avenger for us. It will save us from any of the situations. No, we have to rely on the data validation that AI is giving. Right? So specific risk, of course, it might introduce false objectivity in the decision making, loss of inspection within the system, loss of human skill, and too much of system reliance. It might go for the skill degradation, ability to operate when the system fail, like that happened in Jurassic Park. When the system actually failed, nobody knew what to do, and we had a complete mess. And I can give you a real life example also. When I was in Seattle back in 2006-7 timeframe, there was a major power cut there. and everything stopped, even the cooking gas. It was not working because everything is automated, everything is machine driven. Do you think that would happen if something like that happens in India? Even if we go out of power, Amphan had happened when people were out of power for a couple of days, but life did not stop. We were facing challenges, and there the life completely stopped. Nobody knew what is going to do because they were just going to the shopping mall, buying some bread, and that's all they can do. They had no idea how to operate without the machine reliance. That could be really, really dangerous for us, you know. And of course, there's a certain thin line that organization has to draw. Let AI do the aggregation of the data. Let AI do the identifying the patterns, anomalies, trends, etc. Simulate situations if you need, generate recommendation. But as I mentioned earlier, AI governance guidance emphasizing human in loop decision models is very important. AI cannot be the decision maker, right? It can only be our co-pilot. We cannot put agile in the autopilot mode just because we have AI in place. No. So over reliance we need to avoid and be responsible in using the AI, how we are using that AI.
Right. And I think the whole intent behind making this safe, AI empowered safe, would be making AI as an advisor, not an authority.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now let's do some future talk. So with all, with all this stuff that we discuss, all this great stuff we discuss. So as AI increasingly augments planning, execution, metrics, and governance, the nature of roles themselves will change, right? So say, for example, like 5 years down the line, which safe roles do you believe will change the most because of AI? And which roles will actually become even more critical as complexity increases? What do you think?
Right. So we touched upon all these things, but I think all the roles is going to change with the help of AI. Right. The product manager role, the product owner, we talked about it, they'll become the economic decision maker. The release train engineer role, there will be shift in that role also. And instead of doing the dependency mapping and risk prediction and all this kind of thing, they'll help in designing the flow, shaping the PI readiness, intervening before the predictability roads. The job becomes less about running events and more about architecting the resilience. The total RT role will have a shift. Scrum master role and team coaches role, because AI will always give you the signals of flow and impediments and the patterns and etc. So Scrum master should concentrate more on the human dynamics, coaching the behavioral change, the psychological safety, help team understand the technical agility, help them understand the design thinking, help them understand the value delivery. You should focus on all these things, coaching and everything. And role that will become even more critical is lean agile leaders, because we talked about it, right? They have to do the entire mind shift. AI will remove the ambiguity from them, so they'll have to make the real trade-offs, act on the data, act on the economic truth. And one very important thing is coaching and change leaders like SPCs and everybody lays in case of SAFe. It will, they do not disappear. People think that, okay, what would coach do now? They become the essential translators of insights and adoption. Very, very important. At the portfolio level also, the management has to change the mindset, the thought leadership should change. So all this role will change. Nothing will go out of the system. Everything will evolve. But I would say that specifically the human-centric roles, like the RT, the team coaches, and also the lean agile leadership, because leadership is very important. The dual operating system that we talk about in SAFe has to be more stable. And we have to more and work as a flow architect. We have to work as a process architect. We have to constantly coaching and mentoring the team members, keep their motivation up. Because with the AI in place, a lot of people will think that we'll lose our job. That happens without any data. But we have to keep the motivation, and we have to keep telling them that you are not going out of the system, but this is how you can use AI as your helper
Right.
and can do the value delivery at the right time and right quality. Very important for the market shift.
Yes, and I also truly believe that none of the roles are going to go off. It's only that they're going to become, or rather, they're going to evolve.
Yeah.
And removing the redundant jobs and doing more efficiency, bringing in more efficiency in the flow and everything. So all the roles will remain there. It's just they will get more efficient with AI. Okay. So with that, we are now on to the most interesting part of the discussion, which is our rapid fire round.
I'm already.
So, one safe role AI will disrupt the most in next 2 years.
Nothing will be disrupted. Again, everything will evolve. I don't think any of the AI will disrupt any of the roles in the safe.
Okay. Velocity versus value. Which one will AI make obsolete first?
Velocity. We should concentrate on value, not the velocity.
One decision you would never trust AI to make in safe.
Commitment. Trade-offs. We talked about it. We are not going to let AI control that.
AI in PI plan, game changer or overhyped?
It's going to be an enabler and definitely a game changer. Yes.
Predictive insights or human intuition? What wins in a crisis?
Human intention based on the predictive insight.
Oh, that's a wonderful answer. Biggest anti-pattern when teams start using AI in Agile?
Autopilot mode. Never ever. You say that, okay, we have AI, let them take all the decisions. No way. That will be the biggest anti-pattern.
One metric AI should replace immediately in safe dashboards.
I would say velocity metrics not required. Doesn't make much sense to me anymore.
Will AI reduce the need for Scrum Masters or RTs? Yes or no?
No, with capital N. No.
Yeah. Faster delivery or better quality? Where does AI create more impact?
Both the ways. Faster delivery, because it will help us giving all the signals. And we talked about risk, dependency mapping, all these kind of things. And quality as well, because it will give us all the defect trend and analysis. So faster delivery with quality, I would say.
Okay. And the last one, in one word, future of safe in AI-driven world.
Dynamic.
That's a wonderful one. Okay. With that, we come to an end for our discussion, but then we are now open to any questions. Any questions are out there?
Yeah.
Or if anybody wants to ask something.
Yeah. First of all, a brilliant conversation. Thank you so much, Shubhra, for all those questions, and Shaturba nicely answered. My only thing is these are all very good, right? Hearing these, right? Okay, we are in a good shape, right? Every roles will be evolving. PI planning will be more, right, relying on the data, right? The economic prioritization, all those things we have heard, right? So my first question is, are these still as
Can't hear you, Shubho. I think you got mute.
Okay, my apologies. So you did not hear me at all, right?
No, we did hear you till the time
Okay.
you said that all these things are good.
Okay, maybe by mistake. Okay. So yeah, so my question is, right, are these really aspirational till now? Or maybe you think that some of these are already into practice that you have observed or experienced?
To be very honest with you, that we have not yet experienced it. We have,
Right.
I think the actual value of the AI is still not unlocked in most of the organizations. Some of the organization, yes, but we have read through it, that how they are using AI and how they are actually, getting the intrinsic value of SAFE revolved around AI and etc. But we have not experienced this. For me, if I tell you, it is aspirational, but it's something that the whole dynamics will be changed, right? We cannot just go and do it overnight. It has to be a
Absolutely.
step-by-step process. It has to be an incremental process, but we need to have. I believe that we need to have an AI-driven roadmap. That this is
It's a
how we are going
journey. Yeah, it's a journey.
to
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
And that roadmap has to be very clear with us as well as the leadership. This is how we are going to implement and take the advocacy of AI throughout the system, and this is how it's going to happen.
Correct. Just one follow-up question on that. Now, exactly what you answered, that it is going to be a roadmap, it's going to be a journey, but typically what we have seen that the leaders, right, the executives are very impatient sometimes. They want an overnight result. They said, okay, you have got AI now, show me the result, show me the value, right? So how can we convince them that, okay, this is going to be a journey? Because now the things are becoming very fast. Because I know that for every transformation, every disruption, right, you cannot change anything overnight. When Agile came in, it took a lot of time to get stabilized. When DevOps came in, it took a lot of time to get stabilized. When SAFE came in, right, it took a lot of time to convince people. But the situation is a little different here because when those things came in, we got that time to stabilize. But now things are becoming very fast, right? Very disruptive. Now, in these, when the market is changing so fast, I already have talked about that. So then how easier it is or how difficult it is to convince our leadership who are actually expecting, right, real magical outcome overnight?
That's a very tricky question, and I had, trust me, very difficult discussions with the with the leaders about it.
I know. Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of you have experienced it as well. So I don't have a one-line answer for this. It's going to be a very challenging situation. That's why I would emphasize that the role of the RT and Scrum Master will become so much critical, because those conversations, that convincing power, you need to have that patience to have these discussions again and again and again, and actually imbibe those ideas on their mind. You have to implant it, that okay, this is going to happen. And as I said, maybe a roadmap will help us, that okay, expect this for the next quarter, expect that for the next quarter, or something like that. Again, not going to be easy, but we have to have the patience, and we have to have the belief on our system. You have to have the trust on us as well as on the teams, and then actually reflect that trust to the management. If you can tell that this is how, give us some 2-3 months time, and we will show you the result that's going to come out of the AI. That
Thank you.
probably will help
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And I would like to add one more thing. I think this is a very practical pain point that we all face. And what I believe is maybe showcasing the benefits that we are getting during the PI in intervals, that can give some confidence in them. It can be small achievements as well. So earlier we used to have so much time in meetings. Now we are not having so many. So these many hours got more effective. Or earlier we were always missing the alignments or missing the deadlines, and now this is the case. So this kind of showcasing, so using the system demos, using the syncs, the art events, and showing the real benefits that is happening, maybe in small steps, can definitely help. Yeah, I see Moinak has raised his hand.
Louder. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Shubhra. And thank you, Satrapa, for bringing great insights. I would like to expand the scope of the discussion to not just AI realization, but suppose in a safe environment where art predictability is one of the core aspects to it. And many times we get to overlook the business value part of it. Now, from a product manager or a more leadership point of view, how do we ensure the realization of ROI vis-a-vis your revenue as well as the cost and the budgeting aspect of the overall program? I mean, even if it is a safe framework, but there is a very blurred line in terms of how do we ensure the business value realization of it. We talk about delivering value, but in terms of economical value aspect of it, I mean, how does it reflect in the KPIs at the end of a quarter or at your QBR sessions and all? How do we use AI in some way better depiction or a realization of the economic or the quantification of this ROI? How can we, is there a roadmap or is there a, I don't know how to put that word, but how do we get to that, a better business value realization? I mean, we know we talk about RT and all the coordination and the orchestration in terms of execution, but actually the bottom line, when how do we get to the bottom of the economics of it?
Thank you, Manav, for this question. I think it's a very important question and interesting question as well. So I would say that you're right that finally, first of all, the business value. The one critical component of the business value is the cost involved, the funding involved, where to put that funding, where to put that investment. So those kind of things, AI can give us the data. Why it can give us a real life data and constant, it can factor in the constant market change as well. Based on that, it will give us the cost of delay and tell us that if we delay some of the features from one PI to another feature and all these kind of trade-offs, they will give us those insights. And then of course the decision has to be made by the human, all the leaderships, right? Secondly, you asked that how can we quantify the value delivered. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to quantify it because these are qualitative aspects. It's not quantifiable. One thing I would say can be possible is a feedback loop. And that's why I say that if we get those feedbacks and we have those forums to create the feedbacks, the iteration review, the system demos, and then we would expect the product management to be more and more customer centric. They understand the customer pain, they understand the time and the value the customer is looking for, and get us those feedback. And maybe we can quantify that how many times any changes have to be made in a feature or the story level to understand whether if the value delivery was made or not. How many times those feedback loop are cycle time of those feedback loops, that might help us. But otherwise, if you tell me that how to quantify the value that's given to the market, it's very difficult because a lot of human centricity is there. Sometimes I've seen the customers like, I didn't like it, but they cannot define why they did not like it. They cannot define it. They don't like it. If they can give us those data, and if we have the system and customer can input some or fill up those some of the forms and give us the data, this is what it went wrong, this is where we really liked it. If those kind of constructive data is there, then we can do some quantitative analysis and get those graphs. But if that is not there, deep research cannot be possible by the AI and give us this how the value can be generated or what was the ROI, exact ROI of it in terms of dollars. May be very difficult. It has to be a guesswork then.
And also, one thing to add on here is, I think two most important fields that are underutilized is business value when we are rating the actual business value, or rather the planned business value and actual business value realized. So today we are not doing a good job in defining those. So actually that should be properly defined in consideration with all the stakeholders. What should be the business value of a feature? And then when the feature gets closed, while setting the actual business value realized, that is the scope where we should get in all those feedbacks, how the feature helped, how much value it delivered, and then put in the actual business value realized. So there is a gap there. We are not doing the good job there yet, but that can really help us define the ROI.
Yeah.
You have articulated very nicely, Subhra, because unless we have a representation of a business value, we cannot measure it.
Exactly.
So I think you hit the nail on that.
But I can just play a devil's advocate role here, right? In my experience, again, you can differ always. Are the businesses really equipped to give a right business value? Sometimes they are also not sure, right? What to give right? So they are always very confused, okay? And it becomes a kind of checklist or a ritual. Oh, I have to give a business value. Now this is my business value. But exactly what Shaturupa or Shubhra said, right? What is the deep research, right? Though we know that in SAFE we have got a very clear guidance, okay, on which of these factors you can assign the business value. Are they really literate about it? Are they really aware about it, right? So then
Exactly.
only it
That's
makes sense.
that's
to
what I
add
We don't have a
said.
we don't have a
to add on
representation.
here, Shubho, it's not about only, but lot of time this business value calculation is done based on the guesswork and
Correct.
the gut,
Exactly.
not
Exactly.
based on the data.
Right.
The actual
And
business value, everything is like, okay, if I think the planned business value was 8, maybe you have given 7. So all
Right.
these are estimates, right? It will never give us the right picture. Yes, you
there, yeah, there is a room of improvement in both the areas.
Correct.
Defining the business value, first of all, in place, and then when a feature gets closed, while saying the actual business value realized, we are just doing that checklist
Correct.
take instead
Correct.
of collecting the feedback and what actual value it is
And it is
delivering,
never
and then
quantitative. It is never quantitative.
exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there is a lot of area of improvement in this area particularly, I
Right.
believe.
Okay. I think we have a question coming up.
funny thing sorry.
Please,
The
please,
funny thing, I remember one of my product managers said, okay, I have to give the actual value because you have to create the predictability matrix. Okay, I'll give it. And within 5 minutes, he has given some numbers, some hardware numbers. Okay, go and do the predictive analysis. Doesn't make sense. Okay, sorry, you had a question.
Yeah, Abhijit, go ahead.
So I have one question, like, see, everywhere the AI means wherever I'm listening, it's AI, and AI, right? So it has been AI enabled nowadays in everywhere. So which role, will be increased in future? The product manager, because see, the Scrum Master and the RT or Agile coach role will be defined and they will do the work. But if we rely upon the AI data, there will be someone to validate the data, right? So which role will be increased in future?
For the validation of data, I would say lean agile management, the portfolio owners, and the product management. We talked about it, right? That AI can generate data, can give you the recommendation, but it is we have to take that pain. We have to take that step of validating the data and then use our human judgment to do the final decision. Human judgment, due diligence, all this has to be factored based with this data. Otherwise, again, AI will control the decision making. That could be really dangerous. So, lean agile management, how they are thinking right now and how they should think with the help of AI, that should change. And the product management, the product owners, how they can make the best economic decision. We have been talking about business value. We have been talking about actual value. Are they giving enough time to thought through that, or they're just spending time on doing some business priorities? This will be the priority, this is how it should go. All this complex work and mechanical work of prioritization, everything we can take the help of AI.
So now my second question will be with that. I mentioned in chat box. So as we value individual and interaction over processes and tools, so are we unintentionally leaning over that process and tools again?
Well, tools, yes. The process and framework will remain the same. Tools, again, we said that we are kind of trying to automate. We are trying to do some of the deliberate delegation of complex and calculative work to the AI so that we can focus on the real thing. We can focus on the coaching the team. We can focus on the value delivery. We can focus on the outcome, not the output. We can focus on the economic decision. As I said, the product management should take away their energy from doing the backlog prioritization, all those kind of mechanical work. They should put more focus on how to make the best economic decision. If there is an uncertainty, like there's a war, we are not impacted. Some of the all the I would say the IT department, IT companies may not be impacted, but there are many companies who are impacted by the war that's going on. So in such situations which cannot be predicted earlier, what should be the best economic decision we can take from the business point of view? These kind of discussion, this kind of conversation, this kind of mindset should happen instead of doing the mechanical work. So let them do the mechanical work. Let them do the complexity. Let them do the prediction instead of us to work on the data and do those data mining and data sciencing. No, let them do that. We should be, able to focus more, shift our energy more to the human centricity, more on the due diligence, more on our own calculative thinking or design thinking, I would say. That should be our focus.
Yeah, that's an interesting point of view. So, my next things will be like, so do we really agree that we need to amend the agile principles and manifestos? Because now we are integrating the AI, right? So
Oh,
everywhere, so everywhere we are focusing on the value driven. So even if you see the recent Scrum guide and any other things, it is emphasizing on value, how much customer is realizing, and we
exactly.
need to enable the AI. So do you think that we need to focus on the areas for the principal refinement and manifestos refinement?
Absolutely, absolutely. If I talk about SAFe, is all the courses, all the principles and everything in SAFe right now is being rewritten with the help of AI. Not with the help of AI, but including the AI concept, including the factoring the AI, how it can help us. I know about SAFe that they are doing all this rewriting. In fact, they have introduced something called SAFe Copilot. You can go there and ask them, and they will guide you through the SAFe process. Specifically for SAFe, I can talk. Okay. So I know SAFe is doing all this, taking all this pain and doing it, and that should be very, very relevant in today's time. Agile, I'm not very sure, but I'm sure they're going to work on it because this is where we are in the time we are living. This is new normal. We cannot avoid AI. We cannot say that we are not going to use AI. We have to use it, but responsibly. And that, and if required, the principle, the values, everything needs to be rewritten based on this.
Yeah, that's interesting. And the final one, sorry to bug you, the last one, see, um, what my point of view is every organization is trying to adopt the AI, right, in their product. And where in that case, initially they are laying off some of the people, but again they are rehiring the people regarding the validation and all. So if we are investing the money in your R&D plus human, so do you not think that product cost is anyhow getting increased? So let me tell you one a layman example. So there is a brand called Nestle. Okay. So they are giving their product analysis to Deloitte. They are giving the product analysis to Nielsen and some other organization. But anyhow, they are bearing the cost to invest in all of the organization, that money they are spending, right? So anyhow, unintentionally, the product cost also increasing, right?
Right.
So how come the end user will go up with that things? They are bearing the extra cost and all.
Okay, if I've understood your questions, a lot of the companies, you're saying that they're doing the product management through some other company. They're delegating work to the other company. That's what you're saying, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
So here, I think it's high time the company should rethink that how much delegation should happen, how much they can do in-house with the help of AI. As we said that continuously that we have not yet used the AI power. It is a superpower, but with great power, the Spider-Man says that with great power, the great responsibilities come. So if we can manage the superpower with responsibility, I think a lot of these delegations we can avoid. We can actually reduce the product cost. I can talk about Xerox because we are trying to do a lot of this outsourcing and bring it to in-house and trying to escalate or expertise the things with the help of AI. That's what we're trying. I think a lot of companies will focus on that. That how can we use AI instead of just outsourcing it to some other company and can reduce the cost eventually. That would be my answer as of now, but may not be a very convincing answer. But yeah, that is something I would also think through it. Right? How can we use
Yeah.
AI to reduce the product cost? That's an interesting one. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let
Thanks.
me add one point, Abhijit here. I'm sure like you heard about something called continuous exploration, right? Up the value chain, right?
Correct.
So during the continuous exploration, right, the product manager gets involved into the user research and the market research, correct? One helps them to come up with a product strategy, another one helps them to come up with a product design, right? Now, maybe these things they are doing today manually, but whenever they are actually delegating it, right, it is giving them a better outcome in terms of the user segmentation, better, right, outcome in terms of your market strategy. So eventually, even if your cost is increasing, but compared to that cost, the value is increasing more proportionately. So ultimately, whenever you are going to measure the ROI, right, you are still on a beneficial, I mean, in a better side, right? Because a lot of things are going to get automated. Things are kind of whenever the samples, right? Whenever we do empathy mapping and a lot of design thinking activities, we are kind of constrained with the number of samples. But whenever you are trying to automate that, now the data is enormous, right? And you can come up with always a better user segmentation, right? Market segmentation, strategy designing. So like she said, like she gave one example, the product we designed, and there was a study a few years back that, okay, 75% of the software which is being built are never used by the customer or rarely used by the customer because our research process was too lengthy and it was not that efficient. But if we can really put in AI there, right, put AI in practice, in that case, cost may go high because of little bit of right research activity, etc. But ultimately, when the outcome comes in, right, it may give you a lot of benefits. So I think there will be a good trade-off. But again, as she said also, these are all experimentation right now. Nothing is concrete.
And I would like to add one more thing on the previous question that Abhijit asked regarding whether we need to change the Agile Manifesto. I still believe, being an advocate of human centricity, I still believe individual interactions are still far more important.
Absolutely.
And the tools, and so Agile Manifesto says that these are important. The right-hand ones are, sorry, the left-hand ones are important, but that doesn't mean the right-hand ones are less important. So the right-hand ones are going to help us focus more on the left-hand ones. So your
Right.
tools are going to help us or make us more efficient to do the or value individuals and interactions. So to me, there is no need of changing the Agile Manifesto, but then it is going to be more powerful. The tools are going to make us more powerful in implementing the Agile Manifesto.
So factoring the AI. That's a
Yeah.
Absolutely agreed, Shubhra.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank you, Abhijit. Great questions, by the way.
yeah,
yeah,
great
thank you.
questions.
Yeah.
I think we have had a lot of questions. There's one comment from Shudapkina I can see. One highly ignored or maybe undervalued entity in this entire chain is the end users. They are the silent business drivers, absolutely. And AI can bring in unbiased prioritization of backlogs based on their valued feedback. Absolutely. That's a wonderful comment. I think we are done if none has any questions. So today we really had a great discussion. And as we wrap up today, what stands out clearly is that AI doesn't change the why of SAFe. It actually challenges the how. It pushes us to rethink how we make decisions, how early we surface signals, how we measure success, and where human judgment is most crucial. This isn't about replacing roles or automating them. It is more about augmenting our ability to create clarity, alignment, and focus on outcomes that matter. So thank you everyone for joining today and giving us your Sunday time. I think almost 1.5 hour today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone, for
Thank
your
you. Bye-bye.
time.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.